you can receive from anyone if you're humble enough. If we humble ourselves enough, we can receive from anyone.
Facts.
Right? Like, it doesn't have to be, the CEO of a company. It doesn't have to be the senior pastor. It could be the janitor. It could be the homeless person on the street.
Yeah.
If we humble ourselves enough, because there may be a deposit in them that because I failed to acknowledge you, that I didn't receive what God wanted to speak to me in that moment, because I looked past you. I looked at, you don't have the stature that I have. You don't have the money that I have. You don't have the life that I have. And I think that's one, I'm still working through this, but I think that's one of the strategies of the enemy when it comes to, like, when we start talking about unbelief, even, is I think there are some extremes, right? The unbelief of, like, God doesn't hear me or God doesn't see me, right? Like, everything's bad in my life. But on the opposite extreme of that is everything's going well, so why do I need God?
Oh, sheesh. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
Like, but I think it takes a humbling place to be able to receive from anyone.
Hey, welcome to God's Glory and Men's Real Stories. I'm excited you're here. And if you're listening for the first time or back for another great episode, thank you all for joining. I want to start by letting you know that your story and what you may be going through, they matter here. And you're not alone. So try not to worry about what chapter you're in, because if you trust God with your story, he's going to breathe life back into it. So sit back with the community that cares about you in hopes that you feel God's love as well as see God's glory in Men's Real Stories. I'd like to thank all the supporters, subscribers, the sharers, if that's a word, the listeners, the commenters. I want to thank all of you for your support. And I know that this podcast is nothing without the men who God has put it on their heart to say yes to joining me. And I just appreciate all of you. I appreciate those who even shown interest by filling out the Google Doc form that we have out there. Know that Google Doc form is looked at, so I don't want people to think it's just out there just to keep you from joining me here. And I actually look at that, and I'm actually depending on my team, and we're seeking God to lead us to our future guests. But today's special guest is no stranger to being used by God in many areas, from speaking to podcasting to writing. And I'm truly encouraged by all that he steps into as he continues to seek after God. And, I haven't known him personally, but I'm excited to get to know him and the opportunity to really be able to just hear his story and see what God is doing in his life as he continues to surrender to the calling and the greater purpose on his life. And that's just showcased through all the fruit I see as I continue to see what he's doing through all the different areas of his life. So I want to welcome our brother, Chae Cole, to the episode. What's going on, bro?
Thank you so much, man. I'm honored to be here, Rob. Just meeting you in the park with my brother Kevin and the things that we do out here in Charlotte at Freedom Park.
Yeah.
It's an honor to even receive the invitation to come on, man. I'm super excited to get into it. So.
Yeah, no, bro. I have, and for those who are like, wait, out in the park. Yeah, so my brother, I'm going to let you actually introduce yourself, because I recognize that what you do and all that you do, sometimes people are like, okay, I know him by this, or I know him from this. And it's like, so who is, and who do you normally go by?
Chae.
Chae. Okay. I didn't know if you went by your last name or your first. Okay. So I'm going to let you introduce yourself for people who are like, okay, who is Chae? What is Chae about? And what is he talking about by like park, or what is he talking about by podcasting, writing?
Yeah.
So who are you at the root of it all?
Yeah, that's a tough question for me to answer, honestly, just because, there's so much that I could talk about. And I sum it up even in my Instagram bio. It says all things kingdom. So literally, like, I haven't limited myself to one vein or one aspect to box me into certain things or whatever the case may be.
Oh, that's good.
So I've done, I have Bible plans on UVersion. I have Christian hip hop music out there. I have done podcasts, all different types of content. I'm a licensed minister within a non-denominational organization. And
nice.
So there's just, I don't limit God.
Yeah, no, I love that, because like basically you're like, yo, look, I could box God into what I think he wants to do just through me, and that's it. But like when you keep that box open and you say, God, I'm here to be used. I think that and I recently, I'm glad you said it. You were like, I've written different Bible plans on UVersion, and their UVersion Bible, for those who were like, what was UVersion? The Bible app. I recently read that one, the Father's Day one.
Wow.
Bro, listen to me. Like, I was like, oh wow, he went there. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. So if you had like you can pause this. I'm good with that. You can pause this episode right now. And if you're like, all right, let me just go see like what are you talking about? Yeah, bro. Like you got in there with that. That was good.
Yeah. That was important for me. I know we're gonna get into the story a little bit. But that was important for me because I think a lot of times when we look at Father's Day, when we think about what is, and I know this is coming out months later, but it's around that same time. And I really sat down. So a lot of times so this was my third, it's technically my third one. I don't know what happened with the release. So I'm still working through that one. But this is technically the third one that's released. So when I sat down to write it, I didn't intend to write it, but I felt the Lord really strongly like, Father's Day is coming up. And so I gave him that time and I just started writing and I just started it just started flowing, just going day by day by day. I think it's a 5-day Bible plan. And so, I've teetered between 5 and 7 days for certain Bible plans at this point. Cause I just got accepted to write them. February was the first one that came out.
Nice. So, yeah. I saw all 3 of them. Yeah. And I'll tell you, I'm gonna go ahead and throw it out there. What became like a 5-day Bible plan, like it's like watching a movie and you're like, yeah, I'll catch the next. Nah, bro. I did that 5-day Bible plan in 1 day.
I know it's only been out 1 day since.
Yeah, I was gonna say in 1 day I did that 5-day Bible plan. I was like, bro, okay, yeah, he got down in there. And of course I could be selfish and be like, okay, let's just make this about that Bible plan.
Yeah.
But no. I know that you have a story that's far greater than just what I could hear in that Bible plan for those who are like, okay, well, yeah, I'd love to hear about this Father's Day, because it's not just for fathers.
Right.
It's for people who are celebrating Father's Day in so many different aspects, and however that may look to you, whether your father is deceased, whether your father was maybe never alive to you, or maybe you had the greatest father ever. It speaks to us all, and also gives us others a front row seat to like seeing how, wow, I didn't realize how good I had it. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. And I think that it's great when you can say, well, that wasn't my dad, but I think it's also great to understand, how some people view Father's Day, and how, it has different effects on everybody. But then again, let's not get it mistaken. Mother's Day could have the same effect on people. So yeah, it was powerful, bro.
I appreciate it, man.
It was good.
Like, that even in and of itself, man, because sometimes you do these things, you write these things, and you're like, are people really gonna relate to it? And so just to hear that, man, that's confirmation, man. And I appreciate you sharing just that part.
Yeah, no, it was like I said, it was rich. I could literally have a whole episode about that one thing, because it like spoke to me. Like I was like, yes, I feel seen right now. And I think that's the biggest thing when it's not just relating to people and then being like, yeah, I can resonate with it. It's where people are like, I feel like he wrote that from my heart. And I don't only relate to it, but I feel seen in that. I feel like he spoke the words for me, because I didn't know how to express that. Yeah. And I think that's powerful when people can find something that resonates so much with them to where they can say, I'm going to maybe stop and write right now. Maybe I'll start writing something to my father, a letter that he helped me write because of the words that he put on paper that now help me find the words I needed. And I think, bro, that's powerful when you can do that. I think it even goes down to like the idea of like therapy is therapy, because it's not that person hasn't gone through anything or hadn't experienced anything in life, but God has blessed them with the words to give you for what you've been feeling, what you've been going through, what you hadn't been able to explain. And that's a gift. when a person can say, would you say this is how you feel? Would you say that this is what you're going through and that this is what it feels like to you? And for a lot of people, they can't do that. They just know it hurts. I'm mad. I'm angry. Like I feel these emotions, but I don't have the words to express that. So yeah. I'm not going to sit on that too long, bro, but I'm just going to say that like it was heavy. It was good. I was like, yeah. So y'all stop whatever you're doing and make sure you go check that out. If you're a Bible plan person, or even if you're not a Bible plan person, go check it out. Maybe you're like, I don't read the Bible. Well, cool. Guess what? He's speaking from the heart, and he references scriptures that were like, whoa, that I never saw that. Yeah. That's exactly how I felt. I was like, I've never seen that was good. So yeah, bro, I appreciate it. So yes, I think I don't know if I broke up the whole introduction of you.
I mean, I don't even know if I gave a proper introduction.
Yeah, no, it was good. It was good though. It was good. I think you summed up what God has done in you, through you, which is important, because I feel like we're all just vessels that like God is pouring into and we're pouring out, and that's exactly what you did and you're doing in so many different aspects. So who is the man behind the answered calling? Who is the man that God is using? And was this always like your life? Was your life always a life of pouring, recognizing that God was like preparing you for what he wanted to do next? Like, were you like, how did that look for you?
So in retrospect, man, it really took me becoming an adult to reflect on the journey that God has always brought me through, right? And I think it was one of preparation the entire time. Like there's videos of me, like VHS tapes of me preaching as a toddler, you know, and things of that nature. My grandmother tells this story of how she tells a couple of stories, but I'll share this one where she just says, like, after service, you know, they would, after church or whatever, we would be, you know, fixing dinner or whatever, and they said they would always have to get a second message from me because I would preach a second message after church was over, and I was, you know, a toddler. So, you know, there were moments where once church became a choice, I didn't go. So,
because I'm sure some people are listening right now and they're like, oh, okay, I don't resonate with this guy because he's been in church all his life since he was a toddler, even a pastor. I mean, what could he possibly know about the world?
When church became a choice, but the crazy thing is I always identified as Christian because I grew up in a Christian household. So my grandmother was going every Sunday, but I grew up in a single parent home. So my mom, she worked long hours throughout the week. So again, when church was a choice, I ain't got to go. Mom ain't making me go. I ain't going. Right. So that period was from, I would say, anywhere from like third grade to high school.
Wait. Third grade from high school is when you were just like, I'm good on all of this.
Yeah, like I would go, you know, I would go to the Easter service.
Right. Oh, no, yeah. The ones that, the ones where everybody shows up and you know you can see your friends and you know you can. I got the suit for the occasion. I'm looking good, and that's what I want y'all to see. Yeah.
That was me, man. And you know, occasionally I would go with my grandma if she was going somewhere or whatever. I would do those things, but as far as like. And the crazier part about it is in 8th grade, I was voted to be the FCA captain. I wasn't even going to church.
Or like Fellowship of Christian Athletes. Yeah.
So we had, you know, clubs during school hours or whatever. And so I joined Fellowship of Christian Athletes. I get voted the president of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. And I'm not even going to church like that.
Wow.
I'm not really reading the Bible like that. You know what I'm saying? So, but even then,
we could go down that road of just like why that even, like, is that a requirement? Like is Christian enough?
Yeah.
I mean, like, is the title enough? I mean, think about it. Everybody has a Bible verse in their bio, and they say Christian, and like.
So I mean, but even then, I think it was just prophetic in a sense of where God was taking me. Is like, I know you're not there yet. But I'm still calling you to leadership within Christian spaces, within know, the communities at large. I'm still calling you to this, even though you don't see it yet.
Oh, yeah.
So Like I would have to lead us in prayer. I would have, all the things, but I had enough in me that I could fake it for a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like if you look at it from that perspective. But the thing, like I always say my testimony isn't, and not to compare testimonies, I don't want to get it twisted or anything like that. My testimony isn't one of, I was out here wilding, doing crazier things. Like I've always been a morally good person.
Right.
And so I think the line between morality and Christianity, sometimes we get those two confused, right? Because I see like I'm a good person, I do good things, thus God blesses me, versus accepting Christ as Lord and Savior and making that distinguishing there between that acceptance and then walking out the calling that's on your life.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was that I'm on that line of morality, but I'm not upholding Christian disciplines. I'm not reading the word. I'm not praying, every night and every morning when I get up, at this point in time of my life. But that's why I say I think it was even God saying like, you know where you're supposed to be at, right?
Yeah.
But again, it didn't take me until retrospect when I start to recount like, yo, you was really the FCA president in middle school, right?
Okay, so but like, and I recognize that a lot of times we feel like in order to be used in a faith-based organization, in a faith-based position, a requirement is church.
Yeah.
And yeah, I know, I'm gonna go here. And like, it's like, and a lot of people, then you got those other people who are like, do you have to go to church in order for God to use you? And I tussled with that for a while. When I got back in line and I gave my life fully to Christ, I think that was one of the biggest questions of like, do I have to be in church in order to spend time with you, in order to be in your presence, can we just sit at home and can I meet you where I met you in the beginning in that bedroom? like can I spend time with you and just me and you? And I know I've had that conversation with other people here on this podcast where I'm like, I feel like it's almost like a presidency where it's like a person says, okay, in order to be the captain of the FCA Leadership Academy or whatever, there are requirements. You have to go to church. Check. Yeah. You have to have a certain grade point average. Check. You have to spend time in prayer every day. Check. Right. And it's like, it's, I don't know, it feels unnatural in that I don't always believe that God can only use you in the space, but I think that if you understand what church is really meant for, then it changes how you look at it from an aspect of like, this is the community that God wanted me to come around, so I'm not isolating in what he calls a relationship. Yeah. Because there's spending time in God's presence. Let's just say you wake up early in the morning and spend time in God's presence. Then let's say you go out, you leave out your house all day and you hang out with the same people you normally hang out with. Right. It becomes, I don't know about you, but it becomes very confusing because some people are telling me, yo, morally, you a good guy, man. Like, why sweat it? Like, you ain't got to do all that other stuff. Like, you a good guy. Like, you do good things in the neighborhood. You help women to their cars with their groceries. Like, come on. How could God like turn his back on you? You're a good guy, man. Like, God's gonna award that. Yeah, he's gonna award you for being good. I don't think you got to do all that extra stuff. You don't have to like fully give your life to him. And I don't know. I don't know. I mean, like, I'm interested in how you felt about even that. Yeah. So again, I can't speak to being at that moment, but like in retrospect, looking at it, it's my position on. I think about it in these terms, right? Like, and it's amazing that you asked this because I've really been pondering on this same subject. Okay. But I think one thing we have to consider is that personal private time with God is often for us, right? But when we step into a church, when we step into a local community, when we get around like-minded believers, there's so much more that can be impacted just through conversation, right? Through experiencing
the principles that I'm learning, now I have to apply them with other people versus with just myself.
Yeah.
So I think there is a step beyond just the personal relationship that we have to be selfless enough to know that there's somebody that I'm serving with that needs what God has deposited in me, even in my private time. There are things that Rob has to share with me, but if I stay hoarded up in my room and in my prayer closet, that I don't receive because I didn't open myself up to a community to be able to receive these things.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think sometimes we have this kind of selfish motive or selfish view of what it like. Everyone wants a download. Everyone wants to receive something. But when are you actually pouring that out? When are you also there may be some correcting moments.
Yeah. No, for sure.
There may be some things that, I thought this meant that, but hearing someone who's also studied, well-trained, they see it from a different perspective. They see it from a different lens.
Facts.
We have synoptic gospels that tell us the same stories, but from different viewpoints.
Yeah.
If I'm looking at the studio right now, your other guests are pointing out different things that they've seen that I didn't even take note of, right?
Yeah.
If we see an accident today, God forbid, if we see an accident, you're going to describe something. If we see it the same exact event, we're going to see it from different perspectives. We're going to see different things with it. No, the car, they turned right. But I saw the tire fell off or whatever the case may be. And I missed that. But it's in community. It's in coming together that I get to see, hey, when Jesus said this, I'm hearing this. Did you see that? No, I didn't see that, but I see where you're going with that. I see how that applies. And so we miss out on those things. And I think we have to be willing enough to know that as well.
And you know what? Okay, so look, as you were saying that, I was like, and think about it on the flip side with people who just go to church and don't spend time with God, and they're getting almost like secondhand revelation from a pastor or from people that are around, and they're like, that's deep. And the crazier part is like, the question is like, are we supposed to like use? Is that secondhand revelation? Is that solely for us? Like I recognize we all go to church sometimes, and it's like, he was talking to me.
Yeah.
Bro, he's all in my business.
Yeah.
Bro, he knows, man. He knows, bro. I gotta out it. He knows. And I think, no, I mean, come on. I know I'm not the only person who's felt that before. Like, he knows. I gotta confess. I gotta confess. He knows. But like, I think the crazier thing is that there's some people who only get that.
Yeah.
They only go to church and they get that second hand of like, here's a serving of the word for you. Mm-hmm. Here's what I received while I spent time with God, and they don't ever find their own like revelation of God showing them things specifically for their life of like, oh, well, yeah, I mean, I think that's enough. Sunday is enough. Like that. Yeah. Almost like back to the I'm a good guy and I go to church every Sunday and I get a good word. But it's like, has God ever given you your word? Like, has he ever given you specifically your word? And what have you done with that? And so I think it goes both ways. Of like,
it definitely is.
Yeah.
It definitely is.
That was good, man. You just gave me a whole new perspective on it. That was good. Okay.
I actually did an episode on my podcast called Sunday Isn't Enough. Because exactly that. Like, we can sit, I think part of it has to do with culture and just how we, again, taking a selfish look at our, like, I don't know if we realize how selfish we really are. Like,
nobody wants to know how selfish they really are, bro. What are you talking about? Like, cause then I got to do something about it. I tell people all the time, when you know something, you either got to do something or you got to ignore it. And what you got to ignore it with is normally worse than what you're doing. So, but yes.
So, like, look at our schedule. Like, we have our schedules. We have our set times. Like, I don't want to go to church because I got to go to brunch. I'm gonna miss brunch. Like, all those different things play a factor, right? Like the work schedule, the kids' soccer games and football games and basketball games, and all the different things that override the spiritual development that we may need that may come through the church. But then I think too, to go back to what you were talking about, I think sometimes we think that serving in church, so because I'm an usher, because I serve in this, like, okay, I checked off my Christian quota for today or for the week, and so I'm good. But there is a step further, right? Hebrews talks about letting aside let's move past the elementary principles, right?
Yeah.
And desire the meat of the word. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
So there's a level that we get to, and I don't want to get into like hierarchical standpoint, but there's a level that you get to within your maturity that you say, wait, Rob's revelation is great. Like, I love to hear him speak, but God, do you have something for me? Right? Are you wanting to do that in me? And when that awakens inside of you, like, it's going to change everything. You're going to want to do a podcast. You're going to want to write a Bible plan. You're going to want to do all the different things are going to, because you're like, yo, I know this isn't just for me. Like, this can't just be for me. Like, somebody else's story needs this revelation.
For sure.
And so once you realize that, like, the kid in youth that is growing up without a father, he needs your testimony. He needs your witness. The person that's raising kids, right? The father, all these different people, they need what you carry. But if we just hide behind the secondhand revelation, or hide behind, I got it for myself, so I'm good.
Yeah.
If we hide behind that, who benefits from it?
Yeah. Hey, look. Okay, so look, as you were saying that, I was thinking about, he's so right. Because literally, when I came to podcast in the park the first time, I remember my first thought was like, yo, these jokers are like really in the Bible. Like, and I was sitting there, and it's funny because you're like, I want to know the Bible like them.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking, well, what's holding you back from knowing the Bible like them? And I was sitting there like, yeah, that's me. It can't blame nobody else but me. Like, I'm the reason why I'm not like as versed, and it's not even a thing of like I want to be like them, but like I want to know God like them.
Yeah.
I want to experience him and that own revelation of like things for my own life, because I think that everybody is waiting for God to speak into their life and talk about like give them direction.
Yeah.
But a lot of times people are looking for it from another person who's giving their own direction. And it's like, okay, give me a word. Yeah. As if they're going to like what is it? Not a mind reader, but the people who read your fortune.
It's like palm readers.
Yeah, the palm readers. They're looking for that from a pastor instead of the pastor. Yeah. And the pastor clearly has made it known that like, if you go and get in your word, know that God will speak to you from his word in the same way he speaks to me. But that's all, like you said, it goes back to the thing of like, well, what are you actually looking for? Are you looking for like quick instant gratification? Or are you looking for God to like truly like give you a word that will speak directly to you, that doesn't always have to come through a Sunday service?
Right.
And so, yeah, bro.
I think there's many different things to blame. The blame can go around to the personal side, but I also think there is a leadership component that is that we have to consider as well. Ephesians 4:11 tells us that he's given some apostles, prophets, teachers of the fivefold, right? For the equipping of the saints for the work of ministry. So there's an equipping that has to happen, that I can't from a pulpit just preach to you something that you need to get you through the week.
Yeah.
So that you come back on Sunday and to get part 2 of it. I also have to give you the tools to be able to, okay, this is how you study. These are ways you can study. These are methods around studying, right? The word for yourself, so that you're not dependent on me. I'll give this example. I had a friend one time who just reached out to me. We were friends in college, and we weren't that close in college. Let me say it that way. But we were cool with each other. We saw each other, church kids growing up, or, at least around the church, knew the church lingo.
Church kids growing up.
Yeah. So, you see each other, you do the church things, right? And so, the church handshakes and all that kind of stuff, greetings.
Wait, let me find out it's a church handshake. I did not. I'm going to have to learn that after this episode, bro. I did not know.
Yeah. So just doing all that, those type of things. And I'll never forget, man, during the pandemic, he reached out to me. Like I said, we weren't that close. Like, we greet each other, we see each other. But after the pandemic, or like during the pandemic, he reached out to me and he was like, yo, I'm really trying to take my walk with God seriously. And I was, just thinking like, is there a brother that I can reach out to, or someone that I could reach out to that I know is living this life? And he was like, you came to my mind. Like, would you help me? Like, can we do a Bible study together? Right. And so I point out that example to say it got to a point where, certain times he would call me, or like, yo, I'm thinking about this, or like, what does it like? What would God think about this, or how would I approach this from a biblical perspective? And so it got to a point, as the relationship grew, I said, I would give him like, yo, go here, boom, look at this, do this.
Right.
And then it got to a point I was like, I'm not going to give you, I have an answer, but I'm not going to give you an answer. I want you to study for yourself, to go look for yourself, like just search, like the Bible app has, like you can search, like what does the Bible say about this? Or, whatever the case may be, like look for yourself, ask God to reveal it to you, then let's talk again and let's see where we're at.
Yeah, no, that's good, because then, like you said, you're now, instead of you being the answer of all answers, because honestly, not that you view yourself this way, but in a way, he started to view you as a representative. You're a representative of God, but eventually it becomes to where it's like you have all the answers.
Yeah.
I'll come to you to get the answers, instead of like I'll just talk to him. He like his download came from God too. I mean, like, why can't I spend time with him? That's
Think
true.
about John the Baptist, right? He's preaching and teaching, and Jesus steps on the scene, and he tells his disciples, "Behold," right? This is the one that I spoke about.
Yeah.
Follow. It says immediately, John's disciples followed Christ. The only reason they can do that is because he's already planted in them, hey, look, I'm not the one. There's one coming after me whose sandals I can't carry. So when he steps on the scene, I'm going to point him to you. I'm going to point you to him. Right. So that Jesus is the way.
Right. No. Outside of all that we feel and we go through and we struggle with, it doesn't change the fact of what he's done. I'm talking about specifically in our lives. Like, a lot of people always point back to like what he did for you on Calvary. Yeah, it started there. Yeah. But like, he didn't stop there.
Yeah.
Like he didn't stop. Like, he kept showing up in your life even if you rejected him, which humbles me all the time, because it's like there's so many of us, not that we purposely reject him, but like we just like, it's like, I mean, do you have, like, do I need you in my life?
Yeah.
I mean, like, a lot of us, our fire has gone out and maybe it never came back up. And of course I was going to even ask you, like, I mean, you talk about leaving the church from the 3rd grade to the 12th grade, meaning like your fire just went dim. and the crazy thing about it is that even though it went dim, it didn't mean that he wasn't walking with you through those situations.
Right.
But like, what is it like to try to light other people's fires as a good guy, but with a dim fire? Like, I'm a good guy.
Yeah.
But my fire for Christ just ain't what it used to be. And how did you even get to that point? Like, and I'm sure it was bigger than just like, well, my mom's not making me go anymore.
Yeah.
It's like, because now it's like, it's kind of on you. You could have still gone, but it's like, what was the thought that initially kind of like started to build up in your head of like why this is not necessary?
Yeah.
Per se.
I think it was because I started at such a young age of not going, just getting into that habit. Like, it never like developed into something that this was like, you need to go, or this is what you do. So I think that it was that. I don't think there was like I don't think I consciously like thought through like, yo, you're not doing these things.
Yeah.
Right?
and
doing
you're
the things.
Yeah. And you know what? Now that you say that, you're right. And what is it, 3rd grade?
Yeah.
I mean, there are so many thoughts that are going through our head in 3rd grade. and I can see how, not to say that you don't have an understanding of the Bible, because I have a 5-year-old who has the faith of a child. And when I say that I always talk about how like her faith really spoke to my faith, or lack of, in that she fully believed that God was going to do a thing in her life and other people's lives. And her prayers are heard, not only for herself, but for others. And there are times where it's easy to like be like, I don't think he heard me on that one. Like, I don't, because if he's a good father and he heard me, then he would have answered that prayer.
Yeah.
So it's almost like we give Jesus a cop out of like, he probably just didn't hear me. Like like, you know what? He probably didn't hear me.
Yeah.
Because if he heard me, I'm sure he would have answered. Like, I'm sure he would have said yes. I'm sure he would have blessed me with that. So I, to not go fully dark on the idea of Jesus being a savior, let me just say that he didn't hear me, and I won't feel bad about believing that he's my savior who fully cares about me as a father. And I don't know if everybody looks at him as a father.
Yeah.
But that goes back to even your write-up of like, a lot of times I feel like it's a run-on sentence. I feel like this is just an ongoing conversation of like how you said it best. We look at God through the lens of our father. If we got a good father, we expect even better from God. But when we have a invisible father, and you telling me this other invisible father like has my best interest, it's like, nah, bro, I know all about invisible dads. Invisible dads don't care. Invisible dads don't hear you. Invisible dads aren't here to see what you're going through. And so it's easy to get on that fence of like, bro.
Yeah, and I think too, Rob, like to that experience for myself, outside of the years of not going to church, not doing any of the spiritual disciplines, and not really having a relationship for myself, outside of those things, like I'm the product of train up a child, right?
Yeah,
like even
for sure.
Even if you take the 0 to whatever age you are in third grade, right? And that's a rough estimate of the time. But even if you take that, like I said, like I was the kid, I would have went viral, right, for preaching messages, and like I would lay hands on myself and like cover myself, like all the things, all the different things, right? Like that.
No, you weren't in there like, woo, take the blanket, cover me up. Oh no,
like, I was that.
You'd have totally gone viral.
I was that kid. So, so even getting into like the transition of, recognizing it was, bro, I've always wanted to help and encourage people. Like that's just been in me, right? So when I talk about the morality piece, like that's that part of it too. It's like, I genuinely want to help people. And so I was giving people scriptures without even knowing that I was giving them scripture. Like, in hindsight, like I would go back, like, yo, I just told this person that, like, when I started reading for myself, like, I remember I told somebody this. I had no idea, in my conscience mind of like even giving them, yo, this is what the Bible says. I just said it like a paraphrase of what the principle is in scripture.
Yeah.
And so even those years, those formative years of, being in church and going to church with I used to my grandmother, she plays the organ. And so I would be on the bench with her when I was going. So like even those years of just being in the atmosphere and hearing the word, like it never left.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I just didn't have the reference to go to it.
Right. But the word was in you though. It was in you enough to where you could give it to others. And I truly believe that what the foundation we build upon, like even if you go to church every day for all of your life, you can say I slept through most of it. You can say I was playing a video game on the front row. You can say I was whatever. What did he talk about today? He talked about God. Like, and that's the standard answer to most kids. But I truly believe that what is being said is going into a subconscious to where it can, when a person is going through something, a person is experiencing something, it flows from you. Yeah. Even though you may not be using it for yourself, even though you may not consciously recognize that, like, I don't know how I know that. It's yours. I feel like it fits your setting right now of like, you're going through that. This speaks to that. Yeah. And I don't know how I know that, but I just know that because it's in me. Yeah. It's a foundation. And I think it's even fair to say, ooh, bro, this just hit me. Man, this is good. Okay. I think it's fair to say that the foundation that a Christian household puts in a child, even if that child doesn't walk that path forever, is one that child or that adult will eventually fall back on. Yeah. When we hit rock bottom, think about the idea of hitting rock bottom. You hit the bottom of everything you've done. You're like climbing up something and you fall back down and you hit the bottom. When that bottom is the rock, and the rock is God, then
come on, man.
then at that point, you're literally building from the foundation that was already put in you to where you're realizing that, man, like, yo, I don't know who put this foundation. I don't know who put this here, but like I recognize that this is my starting point now and I'm going to build from this. And I think it's the best thing for some of us when we go through identity crises.
Yeah.
Where it's like, all right, I don't know where to start. Start from the bottom, because where your bottom is normally where God, think about it. God knit all of us in the womb. So if he knit us all, then that means that we have a core to all of us that he created. If we can go back to the core of ourselves, the true self, that identity that's within all of us, to realize that, like, oh, snap, like this doesn't look anything like that. Like I've been living this way and this is like the complete opposite. But this is where I'm starting from, because in falling, everything else fell off of me. I think that's where we realize that, like, yo, there's a foundation that I can build from if I choose to. Yeah. Or I can get back up and just like try that same old identity out. Like everybody around me is living this whatever. I'm gonna go back to that. Yeah. It's everybody has that choice. I had that choice. I decided to do it different this time. Yeah. But the people were still there. The identity, it was still there to pick right back up. And so I question anybody who's going through like a time where they're like, bro, like it's a full on struggle right now. Yeah. I question, like, are you living out of your foundation? Are you living out of like whatever point you are in your climb that you decided I'm going to take on this new identity? Yeah. And I think that's where a lot of people like get a choice of like, who am I going to be? Yeah. Who am I going to live out of? That's fresh right there. I'm talking about that was fresh.
I like to point out this thing. Like, you took me so many different places. I was like, I don't even know which one I want to tap into right now. But okay. So the first Bible plan I released dealt with identity, value, and purpose. And the first part of that is dealing with identity. That's why I'm pointing these things out. But when you understand that your identity is found in him and not in the drugs, not in the sex, not in the other thing, the affirmation from people, it comes from God. Yeah. That changes how you view yourself. Yep. That changes how I view, hey, who am I to start this podcast? Like, I don't even want to start a podcast, but Lord, I yield to what you want to do, because you saw this from the very foundation of the world. You saw God's glory in Men's Stories podcast from the foundation of the world. Yeah. So now I just have to be available to say, okay, God. And I think that's the thing that we really have to tap into, is knowing that, again, his strength is made perfect in our weakness. Rob, I tell you, I am one of the most biggest introverts that you will ever meet.
What?
Yeah, I promise you. So, like, okay, when I first started, like, I've been a licensed minister now going, it's been 2 years. Okay. When I first started preaching, like, to this day, still, if you go to my hometown, people are like, I didn't know he had that many words in him. Like, I didn't know he talked that much, right? Like, right. I am that guy. And so, of course, but introversion is not an excuse for God to not be used by God, to not speak to someone. Yeah. Right. And so all this time, like, it's so many different ways we could go here.
I know. I was about to say, like, listen, I want to run off that whole introvert thing of like, who told you that?
Yeah. Okay. So we go there, right? Even in the garden. Right. So I deal with that in the Bible plan. I promise you, I'm not trying to just plug you to the Bible plans, but this is just fresh revelation. Yeah, no. Right. So in Genesis 2, right, we see the fall of man. We see after they eat of the forbidden fruit. Yeah. Yep. He says, exactly where it came from. He's like, Adam, where are you? Yeah. God He didn't lose Adam.
Right, right, right.
Because the Bible tells the eyes of the Lord are in every place.
Yeah.
Right? So he knows where Adam is physically. But I want to know the identity that I created you in. You no longer reflect the image and likeness in which I created you. So where are you? I'm not asking you for information. I'm asking you to drop revelation that I know where you're at. That I know that you've done something that wasn't according to my will for your life.
Yeah.
So who told you that just because you're an introvert? Who told you that just because you have a speech impediment? Who told you that I don't have the funds right now, so I can't start this thing? Who told you those things?
Let's go back even further. Who told you that your identity was introverted? Who told you that like this is like you're not, like there's so many things that we walk around and we carry of like, I'm not good enough. I'm an introvert. I'm an extrovert. I'm not likable. I'm just the way I am. This is just who I am. And all of these things. And the question is who told you that?
Yeah.
Because like you said, when you go back to like who's putting identity, who's placing identity on you, a lot of times the people that have told you that, the people who have told you those things about yourself, the therapist that told you those things, the teacher that told you those
your
things,
experiences,
the pastor, the parents who told you these things. It's like, it's a lot of times not that they're bad people, because they're not. But they begin to place identity on top of the identity you were created with that never said you were any of that. Yeah. And I think when we live out of those things, when we live out of like what others say about us, bro, like it's crazy how people will come behind other people and affirm you of what you've been told about yourself, of like, you're not good enough. That's crazy. Like my dad told me that when I was younger, and now you're affirming that. Okay, so I clearly can't be good enough. Or that you'll never amount to anything. Yeah. And then you hear that from your girlfriend or from your man, and you remember that time when your mother said the same thing, and you're like, dang, they got to be right. Yeah. Like they both couldn't have known that I'll never amount to anything. So you live out of that. Yeah. And it in a way, when you live out of that, you could come in contact with good people. Yeah. Who see the good in you, who see the reflection of Christ in you or his likeness. But yet you can't see what they see, and you're stuck telling them who you really are. Yeah. Outside of what they see in you and what God is showing them about you. And I think I trying to remember whose book was it. It might have been a Stephen Furtick book where he said, if you're going to argue, oh yes, I've said this before. If you're going to argue with your limitations, then I might as well let you have.
Yeah, that's good.
And I recognize I've been that guy that would argue with the limitations of how I can't be more than what I am because I've lived this way so long, and you can't know me better than me.
Yeah. And as you were saying that, you know, about the lies that we hear from society, from all these different experiences, I felt the Holy Spirit just whisper to me. So,
yeah, a lot of people don't understand that, but I know all about that. Yeah.
If you listen to a lie long enough, you'll think it's true.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Hold on. Okay. Hold on. You can't go back past that too fast, because not that I know people who actually pause this and take notes, but like there was so much on that. Said it one more time. I just thought about that. I was like, oh my goodness. Yeah.
You listen to a lie long enough or enough times, you'll start to think that it's true.
Yeah. Jeez.
So even go back to Adam and Eve in the garden, right? There was a conversation that went a little too long. She entertained the conversation too long.
Facts.
And so we see how it should have went with Jesus in Matthew 4 when he's led up to the wilderness to be tempted, right? His conversation was not in his wisdom. Well, it was in his wisdom because he is the word.
Right.
But he combated what Satan said through the word. Whereas Eve had a conversation out of myself. And so that's the importance of having the word.
Yeah.
Right. Knowing scripture. Like I'm all for affirmations and saying words of affirmation.
For sure.
But there's one thing I want to do. I want to challenge us to not just use words of affirmation of, just worldly wisdom, but let's make sure our words of affirmation are rooted in scripture.
Facts. Yeah. Message. Message. I know there was no shot, but no. I fully agree with you, because if they're rooted in the wrong space, then you're affirming yourself of something that God never said about you.
Yeah.
He never actually placed on you. He never actually said that was his plan for you. You're
right.
affirming yourself to be something that was his oil was never, his anointing was never on. And so, yeah, no, bro, come on with it now.
I say this, if you have the ability to recognize it, you have the ability to change it. So once you've recognized, okay, I'm having an anxious moment, that means I need to pray, right? Like a lot of times we look at conviction. Conviction is a good thing.
It is. Man, come on now. Come on. I mean,
like Paul talks about
it's not comfortable.
Yeah.
But it's good. I think that should be said. It's not comfortable.
Yeah.
But it's good.
Like Paul talks about, I didn't know I was sinning until the law revealed that I would.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that conviction of and having that awareness is actually a good thing. Like so many brothers come to me like, yo, like, man, the enemy wants to use conviction and turn it into condemnation.
Sheesh.
So if I can turn this conviction into you feeling condemnation, I got you.
Yep.
But we know that Romans tells us that there's therefore now no condemnation to those who are in Christ Jesus.
Yeah.
So I have to recognize this conviction as, okay, yes, I did this thing. I made this mistake. Lord, this wasn't pleasing to your will. But thank you for allowing me to even recognize.
Yeah.
Because if we're honest, when you were out in the world doing whatever you wanted, right, just send it, you didn't feel anything.
I was just about to say that voice was on mute. I had put that voice on full mute, because the last thing I need to hear is, don't you dare do that with her.
Yeah.
Don't you dare go there. Don't you dare. like, man, listen to me. Imagine getting notifications every time you knew you were about to do something.
Yeah.
Man, I'd have to throw that phone away.
Man,
because
Rob, I had a situation this week. Like, this is my public repentance session right here.
All right, here we go.
My public confession right here, right? Because there was a moment where someone spoke to me, like I'm in passing, and I didn't really acknowledge them, right? Like I noticed it, but like you in a crowd of people, you're like, but I did notice him, right? And I didn't acknowledge him, and immediately in that moment, I was like, yo, that's not like you, Chae. Like, you know better, right?
Jeez.
Like, so even in that moment, I was like, I felt so convicted in that moment, right? To where, I still got to get it right. To like, yo, bro, I'm sorry. Like, I totally failed to acknowledge you in this moment, right?
Wow.
But having that, like, it was that moment for me that was like, yo, I'm speaking to, like, better.
Sheesh,
and the conviction is there.
But I'm sitting here like, literally, bro, that would have been like a layup lie, like an easy lie of like, bro, I didn't even see you, man. Hey, man, good to see. I totally missed you. But like your conviction is so like fine comb that it's like, bro, come on.
Yeah, I think as we mature as believers, it's going to be those things. Like,
man,
a babe in Christ, it may be the quote unquote big things, because we'll say is a big thing.
Yeah.
Sin is sin at the end of the day, right? But it may start as those quote unquote, how we deem them as big things, those major things. But as you mature in your walk, like it'll be the little things. It'll be I didn't even acknowledge it. I know I saw him too.
Yeah.
Like, it'll be I didn't help the lady with her groceries that I saw clearly struggling. It'll be those little things to just be a light in those situations. And I think that's one thing that, like, man, when I say I felt it so strong, like in that moment, I was like,
wow.
I was like, Lord, thank you for showing me that part of my heart. Thank you for showing me that part of, yo.
Yeah.
You preaching on, you're preaching on character, but look at this piece of you, right?
Right.
Like, because like I had a dream, Rob. This is what intensified it for me. I had a dream that it was a different situation, but I reacted similarly earlier in the week. It was a completely different situation, but I reacted similarly. And I'm like, okay, God, like, thank you for showing me that I would never do that, right? Like, and then I get into this situation, and I'm like, yo, you just did it. Right. Like, it was like the Peter moment of, you're going to deny me.
Right. No, I would never do that, Jesus. No, not me.
And then I get in the situation, I'm like,
Okay, so I'm not even gonna lie. People are sitting here listening right now, like, this brother just struggles with speaking to people. like that's your biggest struggle right now, bro. Let me tell you a struggle, bro. Hey, forget seeing them. I see them, and then I move, and I make my move on them. Like, I don't know how to not see women sometimes, or I don't know how to not see certain things. And it's like, I'm trying to, you talking about seeing them, but I'm trying to figure out how I can stop seeing them, how I can stop struggling with that, and not to downplay what you, but like, I recognize that sometimes, like you said, we can have a pretense version of like stuff that we're struggling with, and we'd be like, we could even have people come to us and tell us like, bro, like, why you always do this? Yeah, and we can be like, bro, I don't do that. Like, that's not me. Yeah, and it's similar to what you're describing right now. And it's so easy to like brush it off and then turn around and like literally catch ourselves in the moment of it and be like, didn't nobody see? Like, didn't nobody see? Like, man, all right, whatever, man. That ain't me. That ain't me. And then what is that? Like you said, that takes you back to like the whole condemnation thing of like, man, they don't know me, man. Yeah. Like, you know what? I'm gonna distance myself from them because I'm tired of answering to them. Yeah. I'm tired of hearing, stuff that they see. I can't ever get it right. I like they just don't want to see the good in me. These are just things that like I know cross people's minds when they put themselves around people who are revealing things to them. Because I fully believe that God will speak through people when you mute him. And when people begin to tell you things like, bro, I just noticed that like sometimes, and this is uncomfortable for me to say, but like this, I notice sometimes, every time we go out, like you always get like this, bro. And and it goes too far sometimes. And it's quick to want to deny it. But the truth is you like, who are you, bro? Yeah. Like, who are you to tell me? Like, bro, you got your own struggles. Yeah. You like, I don't ever tell you about how you keep falling back into this or you keep going back to her or whatever the case may be. But it's like, I recognize that sometimes we can be convicted, whether it be through like that voice in our head is like, that's not you. Yeah. I mean, that's not me. That's me, bro. Who is that? Who is you? Like, but like we can also be convicted by the people who are the closest to us. And sometimes we're quick to be like, that's why I don't like, I don't like going around people who always want to call out my faults, and I don't know. That was a hard one because I'm sitting here and I'm like, I don't know, like, who's supposed to speak into your life when you got so many voices around you? Yeah, I think so I'm big on feedback in general. Okay, like receiving feedback because I think like you can receive from anyone if you're humble enough. If we humble ourselves enough, we can receive from anyone. Facts. Right? Like it doesn't have to be, the CEO of a company. It doesn't have to be the senior pastor. It could be the janitor. It could be the homeless person on the street. Yeah. If we humble ourselves enough, because there may be a deposit in them that because I failed to acknowledge you, that I didn't receive what God wanted to speak to me in that moment because I looked past you. I looked at, you don't have the stature that I have. You don't have the money that I have. You don't have the life that I have. And I think that's one, I'm still working through this, but I think that's one of the strategies of the enemy when it comes to like when we start talking about unbelief, even is I think there are some extremes, right? The unbelief of like God doesn't hear me or God doesn't see me, right? Like everything's bad in my life. But on the opposite extreme of that is everything's going well, so why do I need God? Oh, sheesh. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Like, but I think it takes a humbling place to be able to receive from anyone. Like I'm always asking people, like even after speaking, or if they listen to an episode, if they read a Bible plan, like, yo, what did you think? Like there may be some harsh criticisms in there that I'm like, okay, that wasn't the direction I was going, right? That wasn't meant for that purpose. But I see where you're coming from. I appreciate your response and your feedback. Maybe I could have touched on that a little bit more. Oh, I didn't even see it from that perspective.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So,
yeah. No,
but it
sure.
takes a humbling place to be able to say, okay, Chae, like I know I'm not perfect. So
right.
It takes a humbling place to be able to say, okay, you saw something. There's truth in every critique, if you will.
Yeah, no, and so I definitely agree with you. But because there are so many critiques out here, which critique do you listen to when you have two different people like sharing like and not to say either one of them is wrong, but like you said earlier in the episode, you're hearing it from a different perspective. You're hearing it from a different lens of what my experiences are versus your experiences. And that person has completely different experiences from me. And so based on my lens and based on what I've been through and based on the hurt that I carry, like that wasn't good. I felt attacked or whatever the case may be. It triggered me. Yeah. And where this other person is just like, bro, that was right. I mean, like that was solid. And so like, you're confused now. You're like, well dang, like, should I have been more sensitive? Should I have cut that part out? Like what voice does God want me to listen to over the other? And is it, do I just go to him and say, hey, God, you let me know what you thought? Like I did that for you. I pray that the pouring that came from that Bible plan was solely from your mouth. Yeah. And if others don't like it or feel convicted in it and they express that, should I take that into account? Should I consider that maybe I don't write Bible plans anymore because every time God pours for me, I like, you get what I'm saying? Like it becomes so weird, bro. And I don't think I even have a happy medium, but I can't argue with God. Yeah. I mean, like imagine sitting there and God being like you literally finished, boom, done. And God's like, I'm pleased with it. I don't think there's nothing else anybody could say that could change what he just said. Yeah. So like everybody could come by and be like, yo, that was terrible, bro. Yo, I felt attacked in that, bro. But it's like, who is my audience? Yeah. And I know that's not easy either because I'm sitting here and I struggle with that all the time. Matter of fact, I'm fighting back sometimes, having to feel like, ooh, let me ask somebody if they think this content is good or if this will sit well with people. Or how does this resonate? And I'm slowly getting to the point where I'm starting to even tell myself, God gave that to me. How can it be wrong? Now it may not sit well with everybody. Yeah. But how can it be wrong? And I don't know. That's not always easy, bro. I'll be honest with you. There's content I have that like has not come out because I'm nervous. I'm scared. And it resonate with you. Like I'm literally like, so I don't want to give that to them because they might not like me anymore.
One thing that helped me, I'm still a work in progress when it comes to this. So I can completely relate to what you're saying. But I remember watching Brene Brown.
Oh, I love Brene Brown.
The Netflix, I forget which one it was. I think it was Dare to Lead, maybe. But she has a Netflix special. And one thing that she said, I'm paraphrasing, because this was like 2019 maybe when I watched this. But she said, a lot of times we're listening to feedback in so many words, right? We're listening to feedback from people who would never have stepped into the arena that you stepped into, right? We're judging what we're doing based off people in the crowd, but you had the courage to step on the stage, right? And so in that, one thing that I've learned to do is filter the feedback. So filter the feedback. So where is it coming from? What place is it coming from? So as you share your critique, okay, is there something like you don't really agree with this to begin with, so you didn't really soberly read.
You had already turned it off anyway. You weren't really listening. You
Right.
you didn't really want to give me feedback. You just wanted to tell me how you felt about me because you've already had a problem with me.
Right.
Yeah.
So because I gave you some critical feedback, so now you feel like you got to give me critical feedback over this, whether you liked it or not. And so, like, filtering the feedback of, okay, sometimes it may be, have they done this before? Right? It's easy to critique something you've never done before.
For sure.
Right? Like, everybody can say LeBron James is terrible at this, but have you won NBA championships?
Facts.
Have you made it to the NBA?
Let's start there.
Did you even play basketball? Right? Like,
wow. Let's hope so. But no, it's a good point.
Right? So filtering the feedback. Okay, what's the level of credibility there? Right? Let's assess that. And even if they are a credible person, right? What are your convictions when it comes to this space that I'm in? What is your background with the subject matter at hand, right? Like, what are your positions on what I have to say or what I have to share? And then two, as you said, when you trust God with it, like, as long as God is pleased, like, we have to get to, Paul talks about, am I now trying to please men or to please God? Right?
Yeah.
So when you take that out of the equation of trying to please and appease people, right? That people pleasing thing is real, right? But once you are delivered from that, delivered from people pleasing, and truly want to live a life that is pleasing to God, like, how many people did not agree with what Jesus was doing? He has to go back to Matthew 3 when God speaks from heaven and says, "This is my beloved son."
Yeah.
Not "this might be my beloved son."
Yeah.
Not "this may be my beloved son."
Right.
No, he says, "This is."
For sure.
Right? And so I think, Rob, you're pulling on me, man.
I know. I think I know where you want to go with it too, because I was like, oh my goodness, that's so good.
I think a lot of times when it comes to our faith, we have an if God perspective. So we have an if God will. If God is pleased with this, right? We have to switch. If implies uncertainty, right? If implies uncertainty. If God will do this thing, if God wants me to start this podcast, I'll do it if.
Yeah, right.
But when you have a God is perspective, right? God, this is my beloved son. That changes it. There's security in the sovereignty of God. There's security in his plan. He says, for I know the plans that I have for you. That's what he told Jeremiah, right?
Yeah.
For I know the plan. So sometimes we're looking at our plans. Many are the plans in a man's heart, but it's the Lord that directs his step, right? So understanding and leaning into God's perspective of this thing, right? So going back to Psalm 139, it says, paraphrasing, in your book, all the days were fashioned for me. So what did God write in the book for your life? That's a question we have to ponder.
Come on.
What did God originally intend for our lives to be? And so now when I understand that he has a perspective, right? Isaiah tells us that his ways are not our ways. His thoughts are not our thoughts. So are his ways higher than ours. So when we understand and lean into God, what is your perspective of this thing? How do you see me? How do you view this? How do you view this podcast? How do you view this Bible plan? Lord, he that began a good work in me shall see it until completion.
Hey, now, so you better get it.
You have, God, you're going to see me through this thing. You are with me, right?
Yeah.
You're with me through this process.
Yeah.
And so all the critiques that Jesus got, he has to go back to his Matthew 3 and say, this is my beloved son. I have to go back and remember these things. I have to remember what God has spoken over me. I have to remember each and every podcast that I do, even when I didn't want to do it. God, what did you tell me to do? And I have to lean into that. So as the Pharisees and the Sadducees are saying, who is this man? Like, crucify him, all these things. I have to go back to my John being baptized moment when you spoke from heaven and said, this is. I know why. And because I have that security in his sovereignty, that's why I can say, behold, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one gets to the Father except through me, right? Because I understand that I am, right? I am the resurrection and the life, right? Those are bold statements.
Those are affirming statements. Those type of statements will will get you going to where there's nothing to wonder whether people like, do they like it? Do they not? I mean, can I get it? Like, it doesn't matter. I'm on a one track of like, God called me into it.
Yeah.
He told me to do it. I'm doing it. Period. And I truly believe that. I live that. I am in a studio right now.
Yeah.
That God said, this is what we're going to do. I could question him. I could tell him all my limitations. I could tell him everything that's like, but God, I mean, like, don't you remember I hate my voice? Don't you remember this? Don't you remember that, like, people used to laugh at me and make fun of how I talk? Like, God, why me though? Like, why would you use me? And it's like, when you've seen God at work in your life and you realize that everything he does is for your good and for his glory, it's easy to say, all right, well, like, you're not gonna have them laughing at you.
Yeah.
You're not gonna have them like wondering like the guy made a mistake on that one. That one was the wrong choice. So you know something that I don't know, and you're calling me into a space that's uncomfortable, that's different, that doesn't look like what I've been through and what I want to walk into. But I know that you're not calling me in for you to look crazy, because once again, it's for your glory, and your glory only comes after the test. It comes in our testimony. Think about when we share a testimony, everybody's standing up and like wowing because they're like, wait a minute. Like, wait, he did what? Like, he changed what? He brought back what? He reunited what? And it's what they don't see, what they don't know is that in the beginning of this, I didn't see none of this. I didn't see that it was possible. Yeah. But I believe that God wanted to do this for his glory. Yeah. And I don't hear about a lot of people saying, God don't get no glory for that. He don't get the glory for this. Now, you can say it in the midst of it. Like, bro, this is ugly right now. I can't see how God's going to get the glory. Yeah. Cool. If you can't see it yet, then he's not done yet. Yeah. Like he's still cooking.
That's real.
Let him cook. like let him cook. Because I truly believe that like he's truly about, and this is another thing. His good for us and our expectations are two different things. I don't think that's said enough, bro. Yeah. I really don't think that's said enough of like, I expected it to look like this. I expected to be driving a Porsche. That's good to me. Yeah. God's like, I was actually going to put you in a Maserati small coupe. And that's good to me. Yeah. But you have to understand that my good is going to be for my glory. So don't forget that now. There's a glory coming. There's a testimony coming of like, yo, and can you believe that Maserati did it for me? Like, what? I had no idea that the gas prices were going to get hiked up and that Maserati was going to get regular gas and I could pay for that regular gas and I put in that Maserati. like, bro, there's a testimony in it. Like, so I don't know. I wish I could say, man, we live this out every day. We know this is like, but no, like we wake up every day like, all right, God, what you going to do? How's it going to look? And am I going to walk into it? I'm going to be like, oh, no, not today, God. Not like that. Like, no. You brought that in way too fast. I can't do that today. Like, God, you see everything I'm struggling with right now. You see everything on my plate. Like, please don't make me go and do that today. And I think where he's taking us, I know where he's taking us is a space that will write a new chapter in the story. It will be I would compare it to like, I want to take you into new lands. Now, the old land's great. Yeah. Abram thought it was great too. Yeah. But like, I want to take you into new lands. And these new lands are going to be far greater than you can imagine, because remember, your thoughts aren't like mine. Yeah. So know that my thoughts and what I have planned for you is going to be like so great that you're just going to be like, whoa, okay, like, wait till they hear about this. And then imagine God saying, be like, no, we're not putting this on social media. Yeah. Like, we're not going to share this. We're not going to share this. Like I always think about how like God was like, no, don't, or Jesus was like, don't go tell anybody. Yeah. Don't, no. And you're like, wait, what you mean don't tell anybody? Bro, I can see now. Yeah. I literally can look at you and you're telling me not to tell anybody. How does that work, bro? Yeah. Like, I literally am walking now. I don't think I gotta tell them. They're gonna come to me. But he was like, don't tell anybody. And I always think about like, what in our lives have we experienced that God has done for us just in waking up, just in stepping out of our door, just in a blessing that happened when we got into our office, that he's like, put that camera away.
Yeah.
This is between me and you.
Yeah.
I don't want you to share this with anybody. I want you to remember this, because what's about to happen next, what we about to do next, you're going that's going to need to be a great reference point.
Yeah.
I want you to hold on to that, because we about to go through smoke now.
Yeah.
And you're going to need to hold on to that memory of what I did when I told you just to keep it silent, because what's going to happen next, I'm going to put it all together. And I'm talking about like I just imagine running through a fire with the blessing that God told me not to tell anybody about. And he's just like, oh, I got something planned for you on the other side of this fire, but I just need you to keep it low. I need you not to be so quick to want to just share this unbelievable news with people. And so I live out of that, bro.
Yeah.
I live out of that sometimes. Like, bro, I want to capture this whole operation.
Yeah.
God's like, this ain't even about you, bro.
Yeah.
This is a ministry, but this is my ministry. This podcast is my ministry.
Yeah.
You're a steward of this.
Yeah.
How are you stewarding it? And I look at that even in your life, bro. Like he's put so much in you. How are you stewarding it? So when I started off with the introduction of you, I'm like, yo, bro, this man is not just like, oh, bro, I got so much God's revealed to me. I got so much in here. And it's like, yo, bro, let me just give you a little, I'm gonna drop nuggets on you. I'm not just gonna hold on to this and just be a Pharisee who knows the laws and knows all the readings and knows everything. No, I'm going to share not only what God has revealed to me, but I'm gonna share it through my struggles.
Yeah.
I'm gonna share it through my story of like was it easy going and getting your doctrine?
Yeah.
Was it just like God walking with you the whole time and he just like, bro, don't worry about it. We're gonna go ahead and keep the party going? Or was it just like bro, there were times where like I would like, God, maybe this doctrine ain't for me.
Yeah. So even with that journey, man, like it started before. I always knew I wanted to do that. I wanted to pursue to that level of education. And one of the most challenging things is to have an advisor from undergrad that you trusted, like did your recommendation for your master's, but because it wasn't in the discipline, because my doctorate wasn't in the discipline related to what my undergrad and master's was in, pretty much was like, why do you want to do that? He's like, I'll write it for you, but like, why do you want to do that? Right? Like in a negative tone and connotation. And I'm already looking at the degree program and looking at the requirements. And there was all but one that I met, right? There was like 5 years of managerial experience. And at that time, I think I had been working 4 years. I'm not a manager yet. Right. So I got, about 4 years of experience. I don't meet this qualification, but every other one. So I'm already taking the act of faith to even apply. And so now to hear this from an advisor who you're thinking is going to have your back, like be supportive, all these things. And so in that moment, like I knew before I left the room when I went to ask him, because I met him, in person, face to face, like, hey, this is what I want to pursue. Like, just want to ask if you would write a letter of recommendation. And so when that was the response, it's like I knew before I left the room, like, I'm not getting you to write this letter of recommendation. I go next door to the assistant, because he was a chair, and then the assistant chair or whatever office was like next door. I go to his office. He's like, yeah, I'll do it. Like excited, like like I'm all for it. Like just send me what you need, and I got you, right? But even in those moments of like wrestling through, like, God, do I pursue it? Like, I know what dude said, man.
That last word is still sitting with you.
I know what he said. Like, I don't know. Like, is this where you want me to go? Like, is this where you want me to be? And so I really had to overcome that hurdle, right? And just like really trust God to say, okay, this was your desire, right? Like and I'm going to show you through this. And so apply anyway, get in, do all the things. Cause my whole thing with not meeting the one requirement was like, yo, just give me an interview. Cause that's one of the requirements. Like if I get an interview, like I'm gonna kill it. I'm like, just get me in the room, like let you see my face. Let me talk to you.
Right.
Right. Don't just look at the resume. Let me actually talk to you. That was my biggest thing. And so I ended up getting in, and, funny thing, my cousin applied to the same program at the same, like we didn't talk. So again, going to like not sharing, cause I didn't tell it. Like people really just found out about my doctorate outside of family, like last year, and like pursuing it. So, and then people, when I posted on social media, graduation pictures, it was like, bro, when were you in school? Right. Because I think there is something to, as you said, like not sharing everything with everybody.
Yeah.
Right. Like Joseph, great.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, wow.
In doing that, so I get in, cool. My cousin gets into the same program. We find out we're in the same program. And one like random day over the summer before I started, I get an email, and it's like, you've been awarded a scholarship from the university. And I'm thinking, oh, everybody getting this, right? So I text my cousin like, yo, you get this email about the scholarship, like, and like it was it was a tough situation, because you're hoping they say yes, but
but it don't hit to you after you send the text message like, wait a minute, I sure hope. I hope he got it.
Yeah, and so she was like, no, I didn't get this, and I was like, oh, and so it covered my tuition for the first year, and that was the first like breadcrumb of God being like, I got you, right? Like even though my employer paid, like that's a whole nother blessing in and of itself, right? Like, but throughout the journey, to fully answer your question, like I said, it started before it, like the war started before.
Yeah.
It's like, am I gonna get in? Like, do I pursue this? Right. And then during the pandemic is when I'm pursuing this degree. Right. So you got all of those different things of navigating. I become a licensed minister while pursuing this degree. I still have a podcast that I'm dropping episodes every week. I didn't stop that. Right. I'm still working full time while I'm pursuing this doctorate degree. Like all these different things. I'm still ministering. I'm still helping Kev at the podcast, right? Like all these different things. So I'm going home from podcast in the park with Kevin, writing papers and doing different things, but nobody sees the sacrifice behind those things.
Yeah.
Nobody sees the sacrifice of, cutting your budget and making sure that, okay, I can't splurge and go out to eat every time, right? For time's sake and for money's sake. Like nobody sees those sacrifices, right?
Yo, as you're talking, I'm literally like seeing how like it sounds so much like what we were talking about earlier about fasting. Fasting is not supposed to be done so people can see, people can experience it with you. Like, oh man, you look like you, but it's like what we do despite what all's going on. Like my life still stays the same, but yes, I'm in a fast right now from whatever it may be. Yeah. But I don't know why that.
No, that's real, because even like I said, people were like, yo, when were you pursuing this degree? Like how? Yeah. Because I was still showing up for, friends and supporting friends. I was still leading Bible studies. I was still doing things, right? That like nothing changed to a certain extent. Nothing changed, but I sacrificed. Like sleep was a sacrifice, right? Certain things were a sacrifice, but nobody saw that. And it was because, one, I don't want everyone to know that I'm doing this for personal reasons of like, you're going to look at me different. You're like, yo, you pursuing a doctorate? That's also added pressure for people to know, like,
yeah, it's an identity that sometimes is a lot. Yeah. Regardless of what direction it goes.
Yeah, because like now if I decide to take a semester off, you're like, you still in school? Like, like all those questions come with it. You know what I'm saying? So
no, hey, look, it goes back to like how I think that's probably one of the scariest things in the world. How will people look at me? How will people see me? What will people think? What will they begin to say? I don't care what anybody says. When people say like, I don't care what people think. Man, listen to me. You just don't care what those people on the outside think. The closer people are to you, there is a level of like, can I trust you with this?
Yeah.
If I tell you this, are you going to laugh at me? Are you going to support me? Are you going to encourage me through it? Or are you going to tell me, nah, bro, we don't do that. Ain't nobody listening. Ain't nobody, we don't, come on. Like, bro, you good already. You've done enough. And so it's the scariest thing, bro, of like who you tell. And it doesn't have to be everybody, but think about it. They got a Instagram stories for your small group.
Yeah.
Because of that reason, because maybe I don't want everybody else to know.
Yeah.
But like, what will my close knit friends say? What will they do when I offer this? I think that's probably one of the scariest things in recording these conversations, and that men are offering their vulnerability. And what happens when people hear these conversations? What will people do with that?
Yeah.
What will they say? How will they react to you? Wow, Chae, like I didn't know you were even, or wow, Chae, I didn't know that this was even, or like, wow, are you better than us now? Or wow, I mean, like there's so many different things. And so like,
or even from this perspective, Rob, because I've gotten this too, is why didn't you tell me? I'm not good enough to know.
Oh man.
Right? Like there's so many different variables even within that. You know what I mean?
But okay, so let's just say it how it is though. That's less about you and more about how they see themselves.
Yeah.
And how it felt to feel like I'm on the outside.
Yeah.
But we do make it sometimes like our fault. Like, dang, I feel bad. When it's like, yo, and I could have, but regardless, I'm telling you now, but that's more about like how you feel about who you are to me.
Yeah.
And imagine if we were to be considerate of everybody around our feelings. It's throwing our feeling. I think that's one of the biggest things that got me into the darkness I was in. Of I don't want anybody to be upset, and I care about everybody's feelings.
Yeah.
And I even see that in my kids sometimes. Of like, I don't want dad to think I love mom more, and I don't want mom to think I love dad more. So like, I love you equally. And that's cool. But if you're feeling mom more today, that's cool.
Yeah.
Dad, I'm not feeling you today. I'm actually feeling mom. She's my favorite today. Cool.
Yeah.
Like, because if I give you the permission to say that and to be okay with that, then that starts to break away at the ice of like, what if these people don't like what if I don't make everybody happy?
Yeah.
What if I'm making everybody happy, and guess who's in between, just holding everybody up in the worst space ever?
Yeah.
Like, it ended up being me. Everybody was happy. Everybody was comfortable. Everybody was good. And I'm just trying to get a breath.
Yeah.
I'm trying to catch a breath. I'm trying to catch my breath. I've done so much to make everybody happy. And in all of that, I think my biggest failure was that I wasn't doing anything for my true father, my heavenly father. I wasn't doing anything for him.
You could probably look at my story in terms of, and I know we haven't touched on it just yet, but so again, I grew up without my father in and out of my life. And so like I didn't meet my dad until I was like 7 or 8 maybe. So he's from Trinidad. And so half Trinidadian, half American. And so, you know, he would come for, I think he spent some time with me in elementary school. Like he came up a couple times, like after initially meeting him. I went to Trinidad a couple times. That was 3rd grade, 5th grade. I went there. He spent some time with me. I think he spent like 6 months to a year up here at one point. And then I didn't see him again until high school graduate. No, he came, I think my freshman year, because I think he came to some of our basketball games. But and then didn't see him again until high school graduation. He came for that. And then he was there for my college graduation. And so like a lot of times we can look at it or view it as, and I'm grateful to God for this, is the reason why I'm bringing this up, because it could be easily assumed that pursuing the doctorate degree, pursuing these things was birthed out of, striving to do these things for my father. But literally, like, I'm grateful to God soberly that it wasn't birthed out of that. Like, it wasn't birthed out of trying to, like, yo, Dad, you see me now? Right. And I know that's not everyone's testimony. And that's why I said I'm grateful to God. And I empathize with those that, may have been striving to receive that love, to receive that recognition that they so greatly desired from their father. But thanks be to God that wasn't my situation. But what it did, and what the Lord really showed me about my situation, my journey, was, and I think this will help people, is why I want to bring this up, is the absence of my earthly father. And the reason why I wrote about it in the Bible plan, it actually strengthened my dependency on my heavenly father. And I know that's not the case for everyone, right? Because again, we often look at the relationship with our earthly fathers and reflect that on our heavenly father.
I mean, that's not even the crazy thing about it. That's not even the thought of an unbeliever right now. Who is like, and not to make you be like, oh, hold on, let me speak to, but like, that's not even the thought for an unbeliever. So imagine a believer who can't even see that. Being the case, it's a struggle. I know I'm into my 40s, and bro, I didn't realize that until my 40s. And so I wrestled with what you're talking about now for so long, as just simply being, I'm not enough. I'm not enough.
And so, like, once I got on my own, graduated college, living from, taking care of my bills, all of that. Once I got on my own, because it's hard to miss something you never know you, like, we're missing out on, right? It's hard to miss it. So a lot of times when people talk to me about their relationship with their fathers and stuff like that, I'm like, I mean, this is what like, I know it wasn't the best situation or how it should be, but for, like, this was my reality, right? It wasn't until I got on my own that I recognized, okay, there are some deficiencies that perhaps, because even then it's a hypothetical situation, right? Like, who's to say just because he's there, just because he's present physically, that he's present emotionally, spiritually, all these other things. So now I'm placing a hypothetical on, if my father would have been here, I wouldn't have done this, or I wouldn't be this way, or I would have done this, right? I wouldn't be this way, or I would be this way. Like, these are all hypothetical situations at this point now. So what I had to do was separate that experience. Okay, so now that you recognize, and I'm still learning myself, I'm still learning areas where, okay, as a man, right, like, these are some things you have to work on, or these are some things that you have to address, right? Like, I have a beard because I never learned how to shave, right? Thank God it connects and all that, right?
I would not have assumed that. So if you knew how to shave, you'd shave. But
I don't know. I think I look okay. You know what I'm saying?
They're in now. Don't worry, you're good.
Right. So it would have been a consideration. Like, I didn't learn how to tie a tie until I was in college. So there are different things. Like, I point out those examples just to give some examples of different things that perhaps if my father was there, like, and I'm sure there are things that, like, I know he's skilled, like, he can make his own clothes. Like, there are things that I never got to experience or learn because of, the absence there. And so bringing that out to say, like, I empathize with those who may be striving, but you have to separate it from, okay, God, like, what is it that you have placed inside of me for your glory?
Right.
Okay, these experiences, right? These are all tools, right? Like, from him not being there, from this not going that way, from that David said, it was good that I was afflicted, that I may learn your statutes, right? So in this moment, in these different things, in these circumstances, in these situations, it's really just another way for God to use, not saying that he caused everything, right? Because we understand that there is free will, right? So your father made their decisions, right? The person that did whatever they did, they made their decision.
For sure.
Right? But God can still get glory out of the story, right? He's still going to, he says, it says, For we know that all things work together for the good of those who are in Christ Jesus. So if all things are working for my good, even the thing that I have deemed bad, God can use for his glory, right?
I get where you're going even with that, in that I recognize, and we talked about this earlier in this conversation, of like, it's recognizing the good even when it's not good.
Yeah.
It's recognizing his love even when it's not according to how I thought it would.
Yeah.
Like I think that we all, like, let's be real, if we could drive at like 10, we would be driving at 10. And if our parents let us, we would do it.
Yeah.
I think it's having that loving father who will close doors on things that he knows we're not ready for, even when it's like, yeah, but God, everybody else around me is saying I'm ready. Everybody else sees it in me.
Yeah.
Like, why won't you just let me do this? Why do I keep getting? And trust me, if we could, we would walk through these doors. But I think it's in recognizing that, like, he's closing doors because maybe it's not yet.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not that way. Maybe it's not that place. But I think that in all of it, I see the blessing even in what I looked at as maybe that wasn't in my cards.
Yeah.
It wasn't in my cards. I wasn't supposed to have what they had. And God can still use that, even though I just see the hurt and the pain in it. Even though it's a constant reminder of forgiveness, I can still see how God has used it.
Yeah.
He's used it to have conversations with people who are there, who have felt that.
Yeah.
Who need to hear another person say, yeah, bro, I know what that's like to like make things happen when you don't know even what it looks like to really be a man. So I'm winging it. I'm looking at everybody else. I'm watching TV. I'm watching this channel. I'm watching that channel. I'm looking at a little bit of Mr. Rogers, but then I'm also looking at BET, and I'm like, all right, these two ain't the same, but they still all men. And so, like, what the heck is a man nowadays? How does that look? How am I supposed to show up? It's so confusing. I wish I just had somebody just to break the tie and tell me exactly what this looks like. And so, bro, I definitely understand what you're saying. I think there's still people that are struggling with that, of like, how does it look for me?
Yeah.
So, I'm going to go ahead and ask a question from your Bible plan then. Did it ever change at any point the way you viewed God and his love and his goodness and the way he wanted to be in your life, even though you felt like the man of you in your life didn't want to, per se. Not say he didn't want to, but just like it wasn't a priority. It wasn't like the first choice of drop everything and do this.
Yeah. So, because this is God's glory and men's real stories. Like, I have to, and I gave you permission to poke and prod. I appreciate the question, because it is an area that I'm still working through, like, in complete transparency and complete honesty, because like, my anchor verse is Proverbs 3:5-6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him and he will direct your path. That's my anchor verse, not because I do it perfectly.
Yeah.
Like, one of my biggest struggles is overthinking, right? Like, I'm very meticulous. Like, even with, that's why I said when you highlighted, how the Bible plan blessed you, because like, even when it released, I'm like, yo, did I say this right? Did I do this right? Like that perfectionism starts to creep in. Like, did I put this right? And so even when it comes to, the things of God, it's like, or, just trusting him with certain things, it's still that apprehension of like, are you going to come through?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, I trust you, God, but like, you got me, right? Like,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
come on.
It's still that wrestling, and like, even to sermon prep and even to podcast episodes, or even like, navigating this conversation, is like, okay, do I go here? Do I go there? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so that's why the prayer becomes like, the prayer through the conversation becomes critically important, because it's like, okay, Chae, like, do you want to touch that? Do you want to go there? Right? Okay, God, where do you want me to go though? Right? And so really trusting that. And I had to learn to trust God with small things. had to trust him with small things, right? Like, okay, God, you want me to wear that shirt? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you sure you want me to wear the Can I Pray For You t-shirt, even though we're not going to the party today? Okay, I'll put it on. And then somebody's, hey, I love your shirt. Like, hey, do you need prayer? Yeah. Would you pray for me? Like, all these different things, right? And then trusting him in the small things. As I said, I'm still working through it.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay.
Okay, so bro, I got it. Now I got it. Oh man. I know it was for me. I know it was for me too. Man, that's crazy. So yes, I know exactly what you're saying. Oh my goodness. To the point where I used to be dog tired at the end of the day, not because I produced, put out, created so much, but because my overthinking ran me into a million mazes into the ground where, like, I got so many thoughts going through my head that I'd be better off just pulling it back.
Yeah.
And saying, man, I just want to turn off the thoughts.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this will help you or if this will help somebody else that's in the exact same place of the perfectionism. I'm trying to be perfect in everything and the overthinking. And then you put them together. And man, I swear that's the worst combo in the world.
Yeah.
It becomes exhausting to continue to want to even create. I think when you have both of those things that are just constantly putting you to a downward spiral, your creation, the juices of creation, the juices of receiving and putting out, it becomes a thing of like, do I even want to continue to do this? Do I even want to continue to work with this? And I think that it's a matter of like saying, God, I trust you. Simply, I trust you. I trust that you're going to use this, and no matter whose ear it falls on, you're going to have it touch their heart in a space and in a way that will allow them to see you. Yeah. And less of me, less of whatever it may be that I'm worried they're going to hear. Yeah. Knowing that there was a lot of like, not me. I can't do that. I can't create that. Is what made it so hard to continue to see God's vision. Yeah. Even though he made it as clear as day. And I recognize that, man, I don't think that I even have to wonder that every last one of us, every person listening, every person everybody in this world is called. I think that what gets in the way of that is the all the thoughts. Yeah. All the worries and the wonder of like, is he really going to show up? Yeah. Is it like, God, are you really is it gonna be good? Like, are you like, I used to be a running joke on this podcast of like, God, are you really gonna show up like you said you would? Yeah. Is it really gonna be? Are you gonna make this how you made me feel when I heard it and you begin to write through me? Are you gonna give everybody else that same feeling? Yeah. And the truth is no, everybody else is not gonna have that same feeling. Yeah. But I think the feelings they have are still going to be used to bring them closer to him. Yeah. Even if it's ugly, like, yeah, but how he just made me feel and what he said about fathers and I never had one. And I wish he would have shown up. And I think it's still going to be used to bring them closer to him. Even if they leave a dirty comment of like, bro, I hate you. And I can't believe you'd make me feel that way. Yeah. God's just like, look, I got this. Yeah. I got this. You put the seed down, let me water it. Yeah. Let me water it. I got it. like literally, I have to tell myself that sometimes. Your job is to put the seed down. You may not even, I said it just recently. You may not even be there for the harvest. Your job, put the seed down. Yeah. Put the seed down. You're a seeder. Yeah. I'm the waterer. And the responses and the thoughts and even the silence. The silence is the scariest thing, bro. Is it not? It's not just like, I feel like, just like, all right, well, dang, give me something. Even tell me it's bad for all I care. But like, I feel like sometimes that silence is just like lethal. Like, yo, what the heck, bro? Like, so I say all that to say that I'm on the other end of what you've created that I've heard, whether it be Podcasting Apart, whether it be the Bible app plan, and I haven't even tapped into your other ministries, but like I know that I see God in it.
Yeah.
And I also recognize how it was a struggle to read.
Yeah.
And that wasn't bad. That wasn't bad. I think everybody always looks at like, oh, it's a struggle to read. So that means, or I was triggered by it. So that means it's bad. No. Triggers are the best. I say it all the time. Triggers are the best thing you could ever get.
Yeah.
It's the blessing that you don't realize is a blessing.
Yeah.
I was triggered by that. Good. Step into that.
Yeah.
Sit with that. Like ask more questions. Start with, why am I triggered by that? Why
Yeah.
are you triggered by that? Ask yourself seriously. Step into that. Don't just sit back and be like, I can't believe Chae. He's so insensitive. Bro, this ain't even about him. This is about you and how you feel right now. And so, I would tell you, bro, like don't ever let the voices, the lack of voices, stop the creativity. Stop what God's doing.
Yeah.
He's going to either use you, I say it. Man, why do I have the same lines? like he's either, look, people loved it when I said it, but he's either going to use you or he's going to use Aaron.
Yeah.
Who you want to be?
Yeah.
Who you want to be? Like I want to be the guy who God uses in a way to where I can sit back and people can see him through everything I create.
Yeah.
Even if it's not good, even if it's not.
One thing that I, have tried to encourage people is to pay attention to the burdens that God gives. Like he gives us burdens for a reason, right? When you think about everyone, bro, if you look at pretty much everyone throughout the Bible, the task that God had given them to do, they didn't want to do it at first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Noah ran.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Jonah ran.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? Like, even the disciples.
Yeah.
Right?
Everybody. I mean, literally, there were so many people. Yes, you're spot on, bro.
They're running from. And so, no different from us today. Right? God speaks to us. Hey, start this podcast. Nah.
Sounds crazy, bro. I don't even know what a podcast sounds like. Why would I do that?
Right. So you have to pay attention to the burden that God has placed on your life. Is it a burden to reach men? Right. So now that I paid attention to the burden, what avenue is this? Is it a podcast? Is it like, what is it? Like, how do I execute the burden that's placed on you?
I think so. Okay, so hold on. I think so many people run and want to just do something.
Yeah.
I experience so many people that just run and want to do something. I got to do something for the kingdom. Yeah. And it's like they will do everything and be exhausted instead of just going back to what you said to your friend. Why don't you go ask him?
Yeah.
He knows exactly what you're supposed to do. And more importantly, he'll use every little gift that's been there inside of you, no matter how you use it, he'll use every last gift to actually make sense of it. Like you'll start to realize, oh shoot, I do have this skill.
Yeah.
I do have this talent that I've had forever, man. It's goofy, but like, and God will be like, oh no, it ain't goofy. Watch this. Watch this. I'm going to use it not only for my glory, but I'm going to use it to make you in a way look completely different than you ever looked to people, where before it was just it was a running joke. It was just something that you did for fun. But now I'm going to use it for my glory, to where people are like, whoa, bro, that's fire right there.
Yeah. So even when you look at the disciples, right? So Peter, what does he tell Peter? I'll make you a fisherman of men. Right. Right. So even in so Peter by trade is a fisherman. So I'm going to repurpose. Why would he choose a fisherman? To be on the boat, you have to have patience. To be on, to wait, to know the time, to know when to cast the net, so even though we know Peter, he was very impulsive at times, right? Like he's gonna cut your ear off.
He did. Right? He will.
So even in that, but the skill set, you just have to apply the principle behind the trade now to what you're going to do for the kingdom, right? So I want you to be patient with fishing for men now.
Yeah.
And using this skill set for men.
Yeah.
Right. And so even Rob, you've been pulling on me, man.
Hey, look, bro. Hey, look, we already in here. We out here now.
Even when you look at Jesus by trade is a carpenter. And so a lot of times when I think faith is a matter of perspective. So how you view a thing, how you see a thing. So if you only see Jesus as a carpenter, he'll fix your house. But if you see him as a savior, he can change your life.
Oh my goodness.
That's a quote from Darius Daniels. That's not my own. That's
okay,
Darius Daniels.
Well, no, it doesn't matter. And look, it came fresh from you. That's my first time hearing it. That was good.
So how you view a thing, because now this is a revelation that he gave me. The inability to acknowledge his presence does not indicate his absence.
Sheesh.
The inability to indicate his presence does not indicate his absence.
For sure.
So just because I can sit here and say, hey, Rob's dog is, I didn't see Rob's dog is not in the other room, but Rob, you know your dog is here in the house.
Right.
I didn't acknowledge the dog was in the room. Right. So based on my perspective, so I'm saying that to say, like, we have to understand, like, even for the person that's far from God right now, he's still there with you. Even though you don't acknowledge his presence, it's not an indication of his absence.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Whether he's grieved by, I know you're living in sin right now, but I'm still here just waiting.
Yeah.
He says, behold, I stand at the door and knock.
Yeah.
I'm not going to force my way in. I'm at the door. I'm knocking. I'm waiting, right? With anticipation for you to recognize me as Lord and Savior.
Yeah.
He's not going to force his way in.
Yeah. No, that's good.
I'm waiting with open arms.
That's the crazy thing that was such a shocker to me, even that as much as we run, he continues to pursue. Nah, bro, this has been good. Hey, look, maybe another episode. Maybe we'll have to get together again and we'll have to run this back because there are so many different directions we can take today. And I truly believe that just even what we did and how the directions we took it today is going to be a blessing to so many, but also it's going to be an encouragement, because I felt like a lot of this was just a true sermon of like God's goodness, God's faithfulness, God's presence in our life, despite what it feels like, despite what it looks like, despite what it sounds like, which is always so heavily present in our lives. So, bro, I appreciate you coming and just blessing me with not only your story, but also just a word. I mean, like I tell you every time, as I said earlier, every time I'm listening to you guys' podcast, I'm like, man, the level of the word that this brother has and the other brothers that you're around, I'm just like, bro, they eat this. Like they sat in there like what's your guy who used to just be in there churning? Like they are churning that, because, and you can tell, like I said, through the fruit, through what you put out, that it's like, wow, it wasn't just like a relatable story. No, it was a scripture that affirmed it. So even if I forget the story, the scripture's there. I've highlighted it and I can go back to it in moments where I question things. No. Wait a minute. It says right here in the word, I can't argue with this. I can argue with everybody else. I can't argue with what it says right here.
Yeah.
It affirms me as a son. It affirms me as a daughter. It lets me know that he's well pleased. It lets me know that he's with me. It lets me know that he's never forsaken me. So I can't argue with that, regardless of what everybody else is saying. They're all gone, but he's still here.
Yeah.
I know a brother right now who went through a struggle where he didn't see a court case going out in his favor.
Yeah.
And I met him when I was in prison. And he was telling me about the good works he does at his church in the men's ministry. And I'm sitting there thinking, wait a minute, bro, what men's ministry got you sitting here? Like this is a different level of men's ministry. Like you ain't had to come all the way in here. You could have just visited like me. But it's that God already has our stories written out, and it's not always going to look the way we want. But it's what do I do with the story when it goes south and I feel like God has abandoned me? I know that no. See, I'm using this for my good and his glory. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to do exactly what I was doing out there. And that to me was the biggest encouragement of like, So you mean to tell me I don't have to stop doing this if this whole podcast studio goes up in flames? Does that mean I have to stop? No. That means I just have to continue to trust God and find a microphone and continue to record, because what God wants to do in me, it doesn't stop just because the situation and the circumstances around me stop or change or fall apart. So, bro, I appreciate you again joining me today.
Yeah, man.
We thank you guys for listening today. Thank you for joining us. We thank you for just coming on this journey. Did you want to share how people can find you, reach out to you, connect with you, and even find your stuff? Just because, you know, if they don't know how to, and of course I'll put it in the comments. I mean, like if you're listening, if you're watching, if you just go ahead and hit description, or if you hit show notes, you'll find everything there. But please just share it with people.
Yeah, before I share that, Rob, I just want to tell you, just as encouragement for you, man, like this month, before we talked at the last time we saw each other, that week, and, you know, weeks prior, I had been saying, man, so I stopped the podcast. I stopped my personal podcast for a season. And I was like, man, like, I really felt a burden for men, right? And I was like, Lord, give me an opportunity to speak to men, to help men, and give me opportunities to even be a guest on podcasts. And we met, and you were telling me about your podcast and what it was about. And I was like, I knew it was God. So that's why I responded and, you know, said, yo, send me the details and let's do it. So just even being here today is an answered prayer. And I encourage you to continue doing what you do as well. But
that's incredible.
And also to the men that are just watching, man, like, as I said, there's a burden on me for men. I know the month that we're recording in right now is Men's Mental Health Month.
Yeah.
You know, and so it wasn't, I didn't even realize that when this burden was placed on me, it was just about men, how that was going to play out. But I just want to encourage the men that as Rob is leading through this podcast and through this platform, man, that your story is not, it's not in vain, right?
Yeah.
It's not in vain, and God can still get the glory out of your story. So you can follow me on Instagram, Instagram, TikTok, at Cole Therapy is like everything I've run my ministry through. But personally, if you want to reach out, my Instagram is at Chae Cole, and that's ChaeCole. And in the bio, I can send you the link tree as well. It has all the different things that I've done. I'm also on YouTube at Cole Therapy. So that's pretty much how people can stay connected.
Awesome. And you'll see, like I said, you'll see it all in the description down below. You know, please tap in with my brother. He's doing a lot of great things. He's encouraged me through his just through what God has poured into him for him to turn around and pour into us. So, you know, please reach out. Please tap in with him. He definitely responds. He's you know, as you see, he you know, you don't have to know him for him to respond. Now that's not going to say that he's not going to point you back to God, because he will, and as he should. But, you know, we appreciate you joining today. I appreciate all you guys for listening. It's another great episode. I think they're all great episodes.
Yeah. Really quick, and
yes,
just
sir.
the podcast that we were talking about in the park, that is my brother Kevin Wilson's podcast,
a
Christian podcast. You can put that in there as well.
Yes.
But Kevin's gonna be on here. I'm speaking it now. He's gonna be on here, so y'all get to see him.
There it is.
Soon.
There it is. Kevin, you heard it. You heard it. He said it first. Now, don't let him down. Don't make him look bad. But no, thank you, bro. You're a blessing, man. This is a blessing. I thank all of you guys for listening again, and hey, you guys be blessed. We'll catch you in the next episode, all right?
And that wraps up another episode of God's Glory and Men's Real Stories. I'm Justin Moore, and we want to give a huge thank you to all of you for tuning in and being part of our community. Your support means the world to us, and we hope you enjoyed today's conversation as much as we did. If what you heard resonated with you, please consider subscribing and leaving a review on today's video. It really helps us reach more listeners like you. Don't forget to connect with us on social media at God's Glory and Men's Real Stories for updates, new episode clips, and to share your thoughts on today's episode. We love hearing from you. If this conversation happened to shed a light on past experiences of yours that may have been happy moments or maybe hurtful moments, feel free to keep the conversation going in the comments below, so as a community we can listen, pray with you, or point you to helpful resources. Join us next time for another great episode. And until then, let's give God the glory for all he's doing in our stories.